The Phoenix Suns surprised everyone in the NBA world last year, getting to the NBA Finals after not even making the playoffs the year previous. Phoenix had gone from a team that no one thought was going to be competing for the playoffs anytime soon to going 8-0 in the bubble, ultimately still not making the playoffs, which to this day still seems like the weirdest scenario ever to invite a team, and if they had them not lose every game, then they still couldn't even get in. Sure, it was fair, but it was just odd. And now you get to a scenario where they then acquire Chris Paul. They end up being the second seed in the Western Conference. And ultimately, they have to face the Lakers of all teams in the first round. They get past the Lakers. They get past Denver. They get past the Clippers. And ultimately, they see themselves into the NBA Finals. Now, of course, they did not end up winning the title, but a pretty darn successful year for a Phoenix team that many people, me included, had in the playoffs, but not necessarily as a top-end playoff team or anywhere near a team that was going to be a threat to win the title. Now, ultimately, once they showed that they had that quality, you could see a bit more clearly that they were going to be a competitive team in the playoffs. And this upcoming season remains no different. The roster has changed slightly, but you could argue for the better. And they are once again going to be one of those teams that is going to contend for the title in the upcoming season. So when you look at the few changes they have made this offseason, it is on their bench, it is for depth, but their depth has improved. They have addressed the biggest need on this team. Because of course when Darius Saric got injured last year, it was very evident that their lack of size at the center spot was a problem because Frank Kaminsky just cannot be played in the playoffs. And you have success. So JaVale McGee has been added, who is a championship center. One with the Lakers will serve this backup center role perfectly and will be a brilliant backup center for them to rim protect and rebound in the playoffs, which will be needed. Now, they also brought in Elfrid Payton to give them more depth in behind Chris Paul and Cameron Payne at the point guard spot, which as Chris Paul continues to get older, it's possible he gets more rest this year. Cam Payne will probably start more. Elfrid Payton can give some backup point guard minutes. And then Landry Shamet was also acquired, who will give them some more bench scoring, with E'Twaun Moore leaving. Not that he's had a significant role, but he did leave, as well as Langston Galloway leaving. And so now they replace that role in someone better and someone who can play regular minutes for this team off of the bench in Landry Shamet, who's played on some fairly significant teams that have done well in the playoffs, the Clippers and Brooklyn, has some playoff experience and will be able to come in and give them some scoring and some spacing off of the bench. As mentioned, E'Twaun Moore and Langston Galloway left the team, as well as Torrey Craig, but ultimately Cam Johnson is going to be the main guy for them now for forward depth. You could argue that they could do with another depth forward, as Cameron Payne's going to man both of those backup roles, but ultimately they are going to be more than fine. This is a very good looking Phoenix team, again, heading into next season. Now, sure, the Lakers will be ahead of them as far as favorites for a title, the Nets, and the Bucks. But then after that, it's definitely a bit more open, and you can argue that Phoenix can be amongst that conversation, and Denver, of course, will be one of those teams. Miami, you can argue as well. But Phoenix were just there. I think it's foolish to bet against them again, considering, sure, a lot of teams did have injuries last year, but that's not to say that Chris Paul didn't struggle with his own injuries throughout the playoffs last year as well. Now, it was a lot less serious than some other teams. You're talking about LeBron and AD with the Lakers, and you're talking about Kawhi with the Clippers, Jamal Murray with Denver, you name it. There was a lot of injuries that people were struggling with, but Phoenix still got to the finals, and there's no reason to bet against them completely this upcoming season. Now, that's not to say that they should be favorites, because I personally don't think they are, but I think that the mindset that Phoenix can't contend for a title this year is just foolish, personally. Chris Paul, I have no reason to believe at this point in time as to him being any worse. I think he'll continue to be an amazing point guard for the upcoming season. I think Devin Booker, now having a full playoffs under his belt, his first full playoffs is only going to be better. Same could be said for Cameron Payne, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, especially. He's going to be in a contract year and wants his max that he has not been given yet, and so he is going to want to play extremely well so he can get that max contract. So expect a big year from him after he already had a very good playoffs. And you look at this bench now, they've added Landry Shamet and JaVale McGee, a backup center of size that is very much needed, and then Landry Shamet, who gives them very good scoring off of the bench that they did not have in that position last year, which now gives them a team that is very deep, just like it was again last year, that now features Cameron Payne, Alfred Payton, Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson, and JaVale McGee, as well as Frank Kaminsky, and Abdul Nader, and Jalen Smith off of the bench. They can roll a bench unit of Cam Payne, Alfred Payton, Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson, and JaVale McGee. Frank Kaminsky will probably see some time on the court, but ultimately Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson, and JaVale McGee are going to be their 4 guys that routinely play for them. They have a 9-man rotation that they can roll quite comfortably, that are all extremely good NBA players. And there are not a lot of teams that have that high level of quality on their bench that they can roll out. Sure, some teams can go 10, 11, 12 deep, but how good is the quality when you're going 10, 12, 11 deep? For Phoenix, it is extremely good, led by one of the best backcourts in the NBA, a top 6 center in the NBA who's only going to continue to improve as he enters year 4, in a contract year where he's going to want to get paid, and in a young forward still on his rookie deal, who is also going to continue to improve as they have now had their first playoff run. This is going to be a very good team again for the upcoming season. Again, I don't think the Suns should be the favorite to beat contenders. But not having them in the discussion, and at least not considering them a threat to get back to the NBA Finals for the upcoming season, after what we saw from the Phoenix Suns last year, I think at this point would just be foolish. This Phoenix Suns team is still led by great guard play, which you always need, a good rim protecting center, someone who can get you buckets at the center spot, with wings who can defend, space the floor, shoot the 3, while having multiple players on the bench for you who can defend and score the basketball, while now also having a good defending, rebounding, rim protecting backup center. Ultimately, I think this Phoenix Suns team is going to be a very fun team to watch again for the upcoming season, what should be a very good team for the upcoming season, and one that needs to be in the conversation of NBA title contender when the playoffs roll around. That being said, that is my thoughts on the Phoenix Suns for the upcoming season. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want to hear my thoughts on other season previews heading into the NBA season, then be sure to click the box on the right hand side of the screen. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.